Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and again, thank you to the witnesses for your testimony. Ms. Gibson, do you support nuclear power? And does your organization support building more nuclear power?
We believe in safe, reliable energy.
Does that include nuclear power?
With increased research and more efficiency, there's a possibility in the future.
So right now, it doesn't include nuclear power. Mr. Sweetnam, I believe the data shows that oil, gas, and coal produce 84% of the energy in the United States right now. And without getting into a lot of detail, we know that solar panels take up 4,000 to 10,000 acres of land per gigawatt, whereas you build a nuclear power plant, it's much, much less land than that, and the energy density on oil and gas and coal is much greater. But do you see any foreseeable way in even the next 100 years to not have any fossil fuel component to our energy supply?
Well, you'd have to have dispatchable power if you want to have an electrical grid. And so relying solely on interruptible power, you would need to have some way to store the electricity. And so batteries are efficient and economic for storing about 4 hours of electricity, but when you get into long-term storage and seasonal storage, it's very uneconomic. So to me, it's possible to have a completely renewable system, but it's only been done in areas that are very small and very specific. You really need to have the dispatchable energy or very large electricity storage, which is difficult.
Which would more than likely include nuclear power and advancing more hydraulic.
Yes. So the nuclear power,
electricity.
yeah. Excuse me.
And as we look at oil and gas production, we saw a kind of a peak in conventional oil production in the 70s, and then fracking came along, and we saw an uptick again. I believe it was this week I saw an article in the Wall Street Journal that suggested the Permian may be peaking on oil production using fracking, but we also know there's a new technology out there called CO2, enhanced oil recovery, and I believe some of the projections show we could get another 10% of the oil out of conventional wells and fracked wells using CO2. Can you comment on how important new technologies, and Mr. Jensen, you may want to comment on this too, are to being able to get more energy production, and what our focus should be on these new technologies?
Yeah, the new technology is extremely important, and you're absolutely right that we were concerned that the U.S. was running out of oil and gas. And now, as a result of the fracking technology, we are the largest oil and gas producers in the world. In addition to the new technology allowing more recovery of resources, it also expands the competitiveness of the industry. In the 1980s, with a higher computing capacity, as computers became stronger, small companies with just 2 or 3 people could compete against the majors who up till then were the only ones who could do the seismic processing that was required. So the new technology not only allows you to recover more resource, but it also makes the industry more competitive.
Mr. Jensen?
I'd add to that, as we expand the production and we expand leasing, it'll give new opportunities to develop new technologies. And so through a combination of executive orders that are limiting the barriers to energy production, and then legislation that might expand production farther, these things will work synergistically and with new technology, and they'll all work together to increase energy output more rapidly.
So we hear the argument that oil is a global commodity. If we produce more, it could drive the prices down, maybe get to a point where we couldn't afford to invest in producing more oil. But oil is easily traded across the globe. But can you explain how gas is different from that? how there's such a huge demand for gas, but the transportation restrictions on gas are really hindering our ability to produce and sell more gas.
Yes, so the gas is, transportation is a much larger component of the cost of distributing gas than of oil. So you're absolutely right. Oil is very much an international commodity because the transportation cost relative to the value of the commodity is so low. Natural gas, it's different. Natural gas may sell for $2 or $3 an MCF, but you need to spend an additional $5 to refrigerate it, ship it across an ocean, and then regasify it. So that's why the international gas market is growing more slowly. But it is continuing to grow, and we do fully expect that gas trade will continue to expand, especially in countries who need more electricity, need more dispatchable power, want the clean energy of natural gas. And so they'll be using more and more natural gas. This is especially true in Asia.
And we have over 4 quadrillion cubic feet of natural gas, which is pretty mind-boggling. Back